Growing up, I always felt like my older sister, Jessica, had a way of making what was mine hers. It started small, like when I was 8, and she convinced our parents that my brand new bike would be better off with her because she was more responsible. At 12, she somehow ended up with my beloved Nancy Drew collection, claiming she'd appreciate them more than I ever could. By 16, I'd learned to hide anything important from her prying eyes. But how do you hide a dream? Let me introduce myself. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and this story starts 3 years ago, right after I graduated with an MBA. While most of my classmates were rushing into corporate jobs, I was sketching business plans in coffee shops, dreaming of something different. The idea came to me during my last year of grad school. I noticed how many professionals struggled to eat healthy with their demanding schedules. Sure, there were meal prep services out there, but they were either too expensive or impersonal. The healthy delivery options weren't truly tailored to individual needs. That's when it hit me. What if there was a service that combined artificial intelligence and nutrition science to create personalized meal plans? Fresh, pre-portioned ingredients delivered right to your door. I called it Nutritech, a fusion of technology and nutrition that would revolutionize how busy professionals approached eating. For months, I poured everything I had into developing algorithms, designing meal plans, and crafting a detailed business plan. Every detail mattered, from the AI learning system to eco-friendly packaging. My professor even told me, "This is brilliant, Sarah. With the right funding, this could take off. The market is ripe for something like this." I was on cloud 9. I refined my pitch, practiced endlessly, and felt ready to present to investors. But first, I wanted to share it with my family. Looking back, that was my first mistake. It was at one of our monthly family dinners when I finally decided to tell them. Jessica had flown in from Chicago, where she worked as a marketing manager. In our parents' eyes, she was always the successful one, the one with the stable corporate job, the nice apartment, the respectable boyfriend. I was the dreamer, the one who needed to get her head out of the clouds, as Dad would put it. Mom had made her famous pot roast, and everyone seemed to be in a good mood. Perfect timing, I thought, to share my vision. "I've been working on something," I began, pulling out my neatly prepared presentation folder. "A business idea that I think could really work." "Not another one of your schemes," Dad sighed, but Mom shushed him. "Let her talk, Robert," she said, though her look made it clear she shared his doubts. Jessica sat across from me, her wine glass held delicately between perfectly manicured fingers. She watched me with an expression I now recognize as calculated curiosity as I explained the concept. "It's called Nutritech," I said, laying out my market research charts. "It's a personalized meal planning and delivery service that uses AI to learn users' preferences and dietary needs. The algorithm creates tailored meal plans, and we deliver fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to their door." I went on about the technology, the gap in the market, the growth potential. As I spoke, I noticed something shift in Jessica's expression. The polite boredom was gone, replaced by something sharper. "The best part," I continued, "is that I've already developed the basic algorithm. I worked with a friend in computer science to create a prototype. All I need now is initial funding to launch a pilot program." "How much funding?" Dad asked, clearly skeptical. "Based on my projections, about $200,000 for the first year. That would cover technology development, initial marketing, and operating costs until we break even." Dad nearly choked on his wine. $200,000? Are you out of your mind? "It's actually quite reasonable for a tech startup," I explained. "And I've already had some interest from angel investors." "Interest isn't commitment," Jessica interrupted, her first words since I'd started talking. "Have any of them actually offered to invest?" "Not yet, but..." "Then it's just another pipe dream," Dad concluded, returning to his pot roast. "Sarah, honey, why don't we focus on finding a real job?" Mom chimed in. "This is a real job, Dad. This could be huge. The meal delivery market is projected to reach $200 billion by 2025. And with our unique AI approach." "I think it's interesting," Jessica said suddenly, interrupting me. Everyone at the table turned to her in surprise. She'd never supported any of my ideas before. "The AI aspect is clever, very innovative," she continued. "I should have seen the red flags then. But I was so starved for approval that I missed the predatory gleam in her eyes. Really? I asked, hope swelling in my chest. You think so? Absolutely, she smiled, reaching for my business plan. Mind if I take a look at the details? Maybe I can offer some marketing insights. Like a fool, I handed her everything: market research, financial projections, technical specs, even the algorithm prototype. She spent the rest of dinner poring over my materials, asking questions I now realize were aimed at gathering intel rather than offering support. The next few weeks were shockingly pleasant. Jessica called regularly, offering helpful suggestions and seeming genuinely interested in my success. She even introduced me to some of her business contacts, though none ever followed up on my pitches. Then came the day that changed everything. I was in my favorite coffee shop, revising my business plan, when my phone started buzzing with notifications. Friends had tagged me in a press release. My heart dropped as I read the headline. Rising Star Executive launches revolutionary AI-driven meal planning service. The accompanying photo showed Jessica, smiling professionally in front of a sleek logo for TechBite, a personalized meal planning and delivery service using artificial intelligence to create customized meal plans for busy professionals. My business. My idea. My dream. But there she was, quoted in the article. I've always been passionate about combining technology with nutrition. TechBite represents months of careful planning and development. The worst part? The article mentioned they'd secured $500,000 in initial funding from our parents' retirement savings. My hand shook as I dialed Jessica's number. She picked up on the first ring, her voice cold and polished. I was wondering when you'd call, she said. How could you? I croaked. That's my business, my idea. Your idea? She laughed. Sarah, ideas are worthless without execution. You've been sitting on this for months, talking about it but not doing anything real. I saw an opportunity and took it. That's business. You stole my business plan, the algorithm, the strategy, everything. I adapted a concept, she corrected smoothly. And let's be honest, who's more qualified to run this? Me with years of corporate experience, or you with your coffee shop dreams? I hung up and called our parents, thinking they'd see how wrong this was. I was wrong. Jessica came to us with a solid plan, Dad said. She has the experience, the connections. It just made sense to invest in someone who knows what they're doing. But it's my idea. I nearly screamed. She stole everything: the concept, the tech, the marketing strategy. Oh, honey. Mom's voice was sympathetic but dismissive. You're just upset because Jessica is actually making your dream happen. You should be happy for her success. Happy? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She stole my entire business. That's enough, Dad snapped. Jessica has worked hard to get where she is. She knows how to run a business. You're just upset because she's doing what you couldn't. Stop being childish. That night, as I sat in my apartment surrounded by the remnants of my dreams, market research, financial projections, I felt something inside me shift. The hurt turned into something harder, more determined. They thought I was just a dreamer? Fine. They thought Jessica was the only one who could succeed. I'd show them just how wrong they were. I opened my laptop and began to write. Not another business plan, but something bigger. Something that would make Nutritech look like a practice run. That night was the start of my real story. While Jessica rode high on stolen success, I was planting the seeds of something that would change everything. And 3 years later, when their house of cards crumbled, they'd learned exactly who they'd underestimated. But that's a story for later. First, let me tell you about what happened next. Because watching Jessica destroy my business while ruining our parents' future was just the beginning. The email hit my inbox on a Thursday morning, forwarded by our lead investor, and I could feel the weight of it before I even opened it. The subject line read, "The Truth About LifeSync's Founder." The message was simple but damning. Ms. Mitchell stole the core technology for LifeSync from TechBite during its bankruptcy proceedings. I have proof that she accessed our servers and downloaded proprietary code before the company was liquidated. It was signed by Jessica Mitchell, former CEO of TechBite. I stared at my phone, absorbing the shock for only a moment. Jessica had done what I expected. She wasn't going to fade away quietly. No, she was going to fight. Fight dirty. We need to respond right now, my PR director, Mark, urged during our emergency meeting. Even baseless accusations like this can erode investor confidence and hurt our public image. No statements, I said firmly, my voice cutting through the tension in the room. Not yet. The minute we respond, we validate her claims. Let her play her games. Our work speaks for itself. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about my company, my reputation, and the people who depended on me. I wasn't going to let her tear down what I'd built. The days following Jessica's accusation were tense. Her smear campaign escalated with relentless precision. She appeared on podcasts and local TV shows, crying about how she only wanted to make amends but was being silenced by my refusal to engage. She accused me of gatekeeping family resources, suggesting that I had the means to save our parents' house but refused out of spite. The public began to take sides. My inbox filled with hate mail from strangers accusing me of abandoning my family, alongside messages of support from those who saw through Jessica's manipulations. Then came the bombshell. A cease and desist letter from Jessica's lawyer. She was claiming that elements of LifeSync's technology were based on her original concepts, and demanding either compensation or a stake in the company. It was absurd, of course. Every piece of LifeSync's tech had been developed long after Jessica and I parted ways. But the timing was strategic. With the media already buzzing about our family drama, Jessica knew the lawsuit would add fuel to the fire. "Do we countersue?" my lead counsel asked. "No," I said, my voice calm but icy. "Not yet. Let her dig her own grave." Instead, I quietly gathered every piece of evidence I had against Jessica, proof of her theft of my initial business idea, records of her fraudulent activities, and even screenshots of her emails begging me to lie to investigators during the TechBite collapse. I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to end this. As I prepared my case, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived at my office, an actual handwritten letter, not the usual legal notice or media inquiry. It was from Mom. "Sarah, I know you don't want to hear from me, but please, I'm begging you to read this. Jessica is out of control and we don't know what to do. She's not the same person anymore. The lies, the manipulations, it's worse than ever. Your father and I are at our wits' end. I know we failed you in so many ways. I know we chose sides we shouldn't have. But we're losing everything. Our home, our savings, our dignity. And now Jessica is dragging your name through the mud, and we can't stop her. Asterisk. Please, Sarah. I'm not asking you to forgive us. I'm asking you to save yourself. Do whatever you need to do to protect your company, your reputation, your future. Don't let her destroy you the way she destroyed us. Asterisk. Love, Mom." I stared at the letter for a long time, torn between anger and pity. My parents had made their choices and they were paying the price. But Mom was right about one thing. I had to protect what I'd built. That afternoon, I instructed my legal team to file a countersuit against Jessica for defamation and harassment. I also authorized my PR team to release a detailed statement outlining the timeline of events. How Jessica had stolen my business idea, bankrupted our parents, and attempted to involve me in her fraudulent schemes. We didn't hold back. The backlash was swift. Jessica's supporters turned on her as the truth came out. Former TechBite employees and investors came forward to corroborate my story. Even some of our parents' friends, who had lost money in Jessica's scams, gave interviews condemning her actions. Jessica tried to fight back, but the tide had turned. Her lawsuit was dismissed as frivolous, and my countersuit forced her into a settlement that barred her from making any further public statements about me or LifeSync. The noise finally died down, but the damage to my family was permanent. Months later, I received another letter from Mom. This one was shorter, just a few lines. "Sarah, you were right to cut us off. We made our choices and we're living with the consequences. I just hope that someday you can find it in your heart to forgive us. Not for our sake but for yours. Love, Mom." I folded the letter and put it in a drawer with the others. Maybe one day I'd find that forgiveness. But not today. Today I had a company to run. LifeSync continued to thrive despite the chaos. Our user base grew steadily, and we expanded into new markets. I became known not just as the founder of a successful wellness platform, but as someone who had weathered betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. Still, there were moments when the past crept in. Late at night, when the office was quiet and the weight of everything felt heavier, I'd think about Jessica. Not the version of her who had stolen my dreams or ruined our family, but the sister I used to know, the one who borrowed my Nancy Drew books and promised to return them someday. But those thoughts were fleeting. The woman she had become was someone I barely recognized. One evening, as I packed up my things to leave the office, my assistant handed me an envelope. "This came for you," she said. Inside was a single sheet of paper. At the top, in bold letters, it read, "Confidential Settlement Agreement." Below that, a list of terms. Jessica was offering to drop all claims against me and LifeSync in exchange for a one-time payment of $500,000. I laughed, a dry, bitter sound, and threw the letter in the trash. If Jessica thought I'd pay her off to go away, she had severely underestimated me. The next phase of my journey would be about more than just survival. It would be about reclaiming everything she had tried to take from me, and proving once and for all that success is the best revenge. But first, I needed to deal with the fallout from Jessica's latest scheme. Because while she might have been desperate, she wasn't done fighting. And neither was I. The email accusing me of stealing LifeSync's core technology from TechBite hit like a thunderclap. But I wasn't about to let Jessica's latest gambit derail everything I'd built. If she thought I'd crumble under the weight of her lies, she had severely underestimated me. The morning after receiving the email, I walked into the office with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. My legal team was already waiting for me in the conference room, their faces grim as they reviewed the details of Jessica's accusation. "This is ridiculous," my lead counsel said, shaking his head. "There's no evidence that you ever accessed TechBite's servers. Everything about LifeSync is original and patented." "I know," I said calmly, though my stomach churned at the audacity of her claim. "But this isn't about evidence. It's about optics. She's trying to create doubt among investors, customers, even our own employees." "So what do we do?" Melissa, my PR director, asked. Her voice was tight with frustration. "We can't just ignore this. People are already talking." "No, we won't ignore it," I replied, leaning forward. "But we're not going to validate her nonsense either. We counterattack with transparency." By noon, we released a detailed statement to the press. It outlined every step of LifeSync's development, including screenshots of early prototypes, patent filings, and correspondence with developers who had worked on the project since its inception. We also included internal documents showing that LifeSync's AI algorithms were entirely distinct from anything Jessica had touched during her tenure at TechBite. To suggest that Sarah Mitchell, founder and CEO of LifeSync, stole technology from a failing company she had no involvement with is not only baseless but laughable, the statement concluded. We invite anyone questioning our integrity to review the exhaustive documentation proving otherwise. It was bold, unapologetic, and exactly what we needed. Within hours, tech analysts and industry experts began dissecting Jessica's claims, pointing out the glaring inconsistencies. How could I have stolen something from a company whose codebase I had never seen? Why would I bother when LifeSync's technology was demonstrably superior? Jessica's attempt to smear me backfired spectacularly. Instead of casting doubt on LifeSync, her accusations made her look desperate and vindictive. But Jessica wasn't done yet. That evening, she appeared on a popular business podcast, her voice trembling as she spun a tragic tale of betrayal and injustice. "Sarah and I used to be close," she said, dabbing at her eyes for dramatic effect. "I believed in her vision, supported her dreams. But somewhere along the way she changed. She became obsessed with success, at any cost." She went on to accuse me of sabotaging TechBite from the inside, claiming that I had secretly advised key investors to pull their funding, while simultaneously poaching talent from her team. "And now," she continued, her tone dripping with manufactured hurt, "she's using the media to silence me because she knows the truth will come out eventually." Her performance was convincing enough to sway some listeners, but I refused to take the bait. Let her play the victim. The facts spoke louder than her theatrics. 2 days later, I received another letter from Mom. This one was shorter, almost apologetic. "Sarah, I don't know how much more of this we can take. Jessica is unraveling, and your father and I are caught in the middle. She's convinced herself that you owe her something, that you ruined her life. Please, whatever happens next, don't let her drag you down with her." Asterisk. Love, Mom. I folded the letter and tucked it away without responding. As much as I wanted to feel sympathy for my parents, they had chosen sides too many times to expect forgiveness now. Meanwhile, Jessica's legal team doubled down, filing a formal complaint with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, alleging intellectual property theft. It was a desperate move, but it forced us to respond officially. At our next meeting, my legal counsel laid out the options. We can settle quietly, he suggested, or we can fight this in court. Given the strength of our case, I recommend the latter. I agree, I said firmly. Settling would only give her ammunition to keep attacking us. Besides, I want this over. Not just for me, but for everyone who's worked so hard to make LifeSync a success. The courtroom battle that followed was grueling. Jessica's lawyers threw everything they had at us, dredging up old emails, twisting timelines, and trying to paint me as someone who had always resented my sister's success. But for every accusation they lobbed, we countered with irrefutable proof. During the trial, Dave, the computer science friend who helped me develop Nutriteca's prototype, testified on my behalf. He explained how LifeSync's algorithms were built from scratch, using methodologies and coding languages completely different from those used at TechByte. We started working on this project long before TechByte even existed, he told the judge. And we continued developing it independently, even after all the drama with Jessica unfolded. His testimony was devastating to Jessica's case. By the end of the second week, her lawyers were visibly flustered, grasping at straws to keep their narrative intact. The turning point came when I took the stand. For hours, I answered questions about LifeSync's origins, my motivations, and my relationship with Jessica. At first, her lawyer tried to rattle me, insinuating that I had orchestrated her downfall out of jealousy. Is it true, he asked smugly, that you once referred to your sister as the perfect daughter in an argument with your parents? Yes, I admitted, meeting his gaze steadily. But perfection doesn't mean infallibility. Jessica may have been the golden child, but she also manipulated, lied, and stole. From me, from our parents, and from countless others. What happened to her wasn't personal revenge. It was justice. The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge seemed taken aback by my candor. When the verdict finally came, it was decisive. The judge ruled in favor of LifeSync, dismissing Jessica's claims as baseless and sanctioning her for filing frivolous lawsuits. Worse still, her actions triggered an SEC investigation into her past business practices, uncovering additional instances of fraud and misconduct. By the time the dust settled, Jessica was facing new charges, and her reputation was in tatters. Investors who had once flocked to her side now distanced themselves, eager to avoid association with her scandals. As for me, the victory was bittersweet. LifeSync emerged stronger than ever, with renewed trust from investors and customers alike. But the scars of the past 3 years ran deep. Every triumph felt tinged with loss, not just of my family, but of the naivety I once carried about loyalty and love. Still, I refused to dwell on what could have been. I had built something extraordinary despite the obstacles, and that was worth celebrating. One evening, as I sat alone in my office overlooking the city skyline, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from Dad, a rare occurrence these days. Sarah. Asterisk, we've decided to sell the house. It's time to start fresh. Your mother and I were sorry for everything. Not just for believing Jessica, but for failing to see your potential when it mattered most. You've proven us wrong in the best possible way. Take care of yourself. Asterisk. For the first time in years, I didn't delete the message immediately. Instead, I stared at it for a long moment, letting the words sink in. Forgiveness wouldn't come easily, or maybe at all, but there was a small part of me that appreciated the gesture. LifeSync continued to grow, expanding into international markets and earning accolades as one of the most innovative wellness platforms of the decade. I became a sought-after speaker at tech conferences, sharing lessons learned from both failure and success. But amidst the accolades, I remained vigilant. Jessica might have been defeated, but I knew better than to underestimate her resilience. Sooner or later, she'd find a way to crawl back into the spotlight. And when she did, I intended to be ready. Because this wasn't just about winning anymore. It was about ensuring that no one else would ever suffer the way I had. The email accusing me of stealing LifeSync's core technology from TechBite hit like a thunderclap, but I wasn't about to let Jessica's latest gambit derail everything I'd built. If she thought I'd crumble under the weight of her lies, she had severely underestimated me. The morning after receiving the email, I walked into the office with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. My legal team was already waiting for me in the conference room, their faces grim as they reviewed the details of Jessica's accusation. "This is ridiculous," my lead counsel said, shaking his head. "There's no evidence that you ever accessed TechBite's servers. Everything about LifeSync is original and patented." "I know," I said calmly, though my stomach churned at the audacity of her claim. "But this isn't about evidence. It's about optics. She's trying to create doubt among investors, customers, even our own employees." "So what do we do?" Melissa, my PR director, asked. Her voice was tight with frustration. "We can't just ignore this. People are already talking." "No, we won't ignore it," I replied, leaning forward. "But we're not going to validate her nonsense either. We counterattack with transparency." By noon, we released a detailed statement to the press. It outlined every step of LifeSync's development, including screenshots of early prototypes, patent filings, and correspondence with developers who had worked on the project since its inception. We also included internal documents showing that LifeSync's AI algorithms were entirely distinct from anything Jessica had touched during her tenure at TechBite. To suggest that Sarah Mitchell, founder and CEO of LifeSync, stole technology from a failing company she had no involvement with is not only baseless but laughable, the statement concluded. We invite anyone questioning our integrity to review the exhaustive documentation proving otherwise. It was bold, unapologetic, and exactly what we needed. Within hours, tech analysts and industry experts began dissecting Jessica's claims, pointing out the glaring inconsistencies. How could I have stolen something from a company whose codebase I had never seen? Why would I bother when LifeSync's technology was demonstrably superior? Jessica's attempt to smear me backfired spectacularly.